Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's just tell some stories tonight. Let's talk about the weed guy, the weed man. See, in many states nowadays, I guess it's legalized for, just regular consumption. So what do? I don't even know what you guys do, but what do? You go to the store and you swipe your card or something to buy it? Back in the old days, in my day, we used to have to buy it illegally from the weed guy. And everybody had their guy. I've had many weed guys. And of course, buying on the street, that's the lowest of the low. I did that as a teenager, stopped doing that at a certain point. It's just too sketchy. I remember being in DC as a teenager. I used to go to these Jamaicans and they had these bodegas, a couple of them. And they were always selling weed, notorious for selling weed. And it was really annoying because they always had this stupid way. It was the dumbest way to buy weed. You hand him the money, and it's got to be a quick handshake thing. He's not going to sit and count it. He's going to assume that it's the right amount, which is bad business also. I can imagine how many times these guys get ripped off. And instead of giving you the weed in that same handshake, which is possible, some guys would do that. No, these Jamaicans, these guys, it was so annoying. He would flick, and these were little dime bags, he would flick the bag, like with his thumb, like flick it. And the bag would go flying into the corner or on the street, and you'd have to go and pick it up off the sidewalk. And I often didn't see where the bag would go. And I'd be looking on the sidewalk, on the dirty sidewalk, and I'd be like, where is it? And the motherfucker would be pointing, it's right there. And I'd be like, where? And he'd be pointing, right there, man, you idiot, right there, you idiot. And I'd be like, dude, this is the dumbest thing ever. You think that the cops, if there's cops watching, you think that this is a good way to fucking sell weed? I bought weed off those Jamaicans one time. They were getting busted by the cops, and the cops were busting the bodega, taking them out in handcuffs, big crime scene. I showed up to buy a bag of weed and the place is getting busted. I'm right across the street and there's one of the Jamaicans from that whole crew that wasn't getting busted. So I bought a bag of weed off of him, literally just 7 or 8, 10 feet from cops arresting people selling weed. I was like, this is so sketchy. Buying on the street sucks. The most funny times I had buying weed were from wealthy weed dealers. And I met those types of guys when I was older. I got out to California. And I met a few, like, rich weed dealers. And you wonder, well, why would a rich guy sell weed? And I don't know. Some people just like being the man, they just like being popular. They just like being the shit. I don't know. But I used to buy weed off this one guy. He was the son of a very famous and wealthy clothing designer. He was the heir. And he was cool. He kind of looked like a rat, and he was long, stringy hair. Looked like the rat from, I don't know why I think that, but in my mind, he looks like the rat from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That rat that mentored them. But he's a hippie. He was cool. And he was loaded. And he always had some fucking mansion or mini mansion. And he'd always be surrounded by these fucking incredibly sexy women. Women do not care what a guy looks like. They don't care. The hottest chicks that you dream about, they will fuck the ugliest dude ever. Looks have nothing to do with the shit. You guys are getting muscles to try to impress chicks. Chicks don't care about that. I've seen it. And every time I would go over there, it was just this wild scene with him, with all these bikinis. They would always be in bikinis, these beautiful women in bikinis. And he'd just be like, just getting done having sex with them. He'd be like, hey, bro. And he talked in this California language that hippies would talk in. They have their own little language. And he'd always be trying to sell me weed that had a name. This is Crystal Death. And they'd always have some stupid name. and he'd want to show off. I'd buy an eighth of weed. He's got to show me the whole pound. By the end of hanging out with him, there's half-naked, freshly fucked supermodels in bikinis, pounds of weed sitting around that he's trying to show off with. He's going wild, telling me all these crazy stories. And I'd just be like, man, this is nuts. I got a story about him on here where he gets busted, a whole other video about that if you're interested more in me talking about that guy. Another dude that was my weed guy that I enjoyed going over, another wealthy weed dealer. His parents owned I think it was an airport or something. I want to say it was an airport. This was so long ago. And he was cool. And he was like a rock star dude. He played guitar and he was fucking incredible at guitar. Incredible. I mean, he really was. And I think he's still playing out there. He used to play in a couple bands in that area. Just a phenomenal guitar player. Could play anything, from classical to heavy metal, you name it, and play it perfect. And of course he had his own stuff too. But he wasn't a singer. And buying weed at his house was always fun. He had fish tanks everywhere, and he had a cool fucking house, and he was a cool dude, like the epitome of cool. And he had this whole rock star thing going on. I was just some dirtball from the ghetto. So to go hang out with people like that, for me, it was fun, seeing how the other half lives. And one day I'm over at his house, buying a bag of weed, and he's, showing me his toys and whatever. He would go through these phases of buying stuff and want to show off what he bought. And he wants to play me a song, and he's like, bro, I'm getting into my own little project, and I'm gonna be, fronting my own band or whatever, singing, because usually he's just a guitar player. And he's like, I got a song, I want you to hear it. Give me your honest criticism. I trust you. I've known you for a while. You're a good bro. So I'm like, all right. And I've heard him play guitar before. He's phenomenal. So I'm expecting this to be amazing. And he turns on his amp. He's got big, giant Marshall stacks. He turns it all on. He's got this amazing guitar that's worth more than everything I own. And he starts just jamming on these riffs, and it sounds good. And I'm like, yeah, man, this sounds good. And he's standing like right in front of me, like right there. And he's just playing me this one-person concert. We're both high as fuck. And then he gets with the lyrics. And the lyrics were, I'm an individual, I'm an individual, I'm an individual, I do what I want, I do what I want. And he's like right in my face, like screaming these lyrics, jamming on his guitar. And I'm just sitting there just like, what the fuck? It was so awful. Oh my God. And I'm supposed to give him honest criticism, and he's my weed guy. I don't want him to stop being my weed guy. If I tell him it's a bad song, what's gonna happen then? He'll never let me come by again. I don't know, I don't want to hurt his feelings. And it was so terrible. If you're watching, bro, I'm just being honest. It was terrible. I've never told you this. You'll find out right now. It was terrible. That was a terrible song you sang me. Oh, it was painful. And it went on for like 4.5 minutes with those same lyrics. I'm an individual, and he's right in my face. Finally, he stopped, and he's kind of out of breath, and he's like, so what do you think? And I'm just like, oh God, can I get my bag of weed? The weed man. I don't think do they still exist? It's legalized everywhere. We're in this weird world. Thanks for watching.